the Department of Public Health. I am the director of the WIC program, and today we will be focusing on food labels as it relates to sodium. So where is the salt? The sheets of paper that I've given you, we're going to use those labels that you have of seasonings to find the sodium. Because what happens is we're in the grocery store after we have been diagnosed with hypertension, or we are trying to decrease the amount of sodium in our diet. And so then you find yourself in the grocery store in the seasoning aisle trying to find what fits low sodium, sodium with no, a label that has no salt in it. And so I've given you some labels. I'm going to give you a few minutes to look at your label, and you write on your sheet, on your white sheet, you're going to take that, and the first thing you're going to look at is what is the serving size. So look at your label, and some of you might say, well, Nancy, it's too small. I didn't make the label. I went to Kroger, Publix, Walmart, just like you would do. Right? And so, yes, I agree with you. Sometimes the label or the words are very small. And so we find ourselves purchasing something that we think might fit, right? So pretend you're in that store, and now you're going to look at the label, and we're going to go through it together. So no worries. This is a team activity. So the first thing is we're going to look at the serving size. Now, when you're looking at salt, everybody knows what this little guy here looks like, right? Is there anybody at their house who do not have this? Okay, he says he used sea salt. We're going to get there, okay? Because the magic word was he's still using what? Salt. So if and I don't think I've written down salt on your label, because I use this as the guide. This is the one that we pretty much all use, except for the gentleman in the back who says he used sea salt. All right, so if I were to look on here, the serving size is 1/4 of a teaspoon. If you do not have any measuring spoons at home, guess what? They're giving them away here at this health fair, so please go to one of those tables out there. This blue one here is 1/4 of a teaspoon. I encourage everyone, if you don't have measuring cups or measuring spoons at home, please, please, it's very important that you have these tools to measure with, okay? So this 1/4 of a teaspoon would be right in here. If I look on the back, it says sodium 590 milligrams. So I want you to write that somewhere on your paper. 1/4 of a teaspoon and 590 milligrams. Because on this label, 1/4 of a teaspoon has 590 milligrams of sodium. Okay? Now, if we were to look at guidelines, the guidelines say that you should have no more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day. However, the guidelines go a little bit deeper, and they say people who are more prone to hypertension, and there are certain populations who are more prone to hypertension than others. For example, African Americans should have less. That should be about 1,500 milligrams, so about 10 teaspoons. So remember now, when you're looking at this little jewel here, okay? So that is in a 24-hour period. A 24-hour period. So that's all the McDonald's, all of the Chick-fil-A, all of the other things that you put in your mouth, such as the lunch you had today if you were a vendor. Okay, so we have to look at those things and see. And I love it when people are eating in front of me when I'm talking, because then I get to ask them a question. And so since there's one person here that's eating in front of me, and I think that's wonderful, can you look on the back of your chips and tell me how many milligrams of sodium are there?
170 milligrams.
So there's 170 milligrams, and how many servings is in that? So that is 170 milligrams for one serving. And if you look at the top of the bag, it would tell you how many servings are in that bag. Is it one serving at the top? All right, so look at that 170. So now remember 2,300. So she's subtracting if she's keeping up with the sodium, right? Okay. Now, the last time I did this, someone said, and by the way, I did it at a church. Someone said, oh, I don't eat sodium. I don't eat salt like that. What is this? And it is Himalayan salt, right? Yes. I'm not going to win with him in the back, right? I know that already. So the rock was more expensive, sir. It was like $7. You know, I got a little bit more for $5. So if I look in the back of this Himalayan pink salt that's extra fine, so it says 420 milligrams. Now, what was the salt? 590. Here is 420. The serving size is 1/4 of a teaspoon. That's not on the paper. You'll have to write that down, because remember, I was at the church and the lady told me, well, no, I don't eat this. This is what I eat. She's still taking in salt. Okay? So now it's going to be your turn to talk. So who has 3 beer smoking chipotle rub? Okay, so what is the serving size on there? 1 teaspoon, and how much salt? 150 milligrams. So you can write that on your paper, 150 milligrams. We'll fill out the nutrient claims shortly. All right, let's go to the next one. Myron Mixon Rub-a-Dub Rib Rub. Who has that one?
1 teaspoon, 390
390
milligrams.
milligrams. All right, what about Charlie's Choice Steak Seasoning?
It does not give the information. That is disturbing.
Exactly.
Its main ingredient is salt.
Yes. And so sometimes, depending upon where you go to shop, that may happen to you. So remember, if you're watching your sodium, right, or you fall into that group who might be predestined to get hypertension, that's not one that you want to purchase, right? Because that label is not telling you anything, okay? So very good. What about Weber Dry Smoking Rub? What's the serving size? Okay, and how much sodium?
340 milligrams.
Yes, so 1 teaspoon, you get 340 milligrams. Okay? What about Tony's, is that no salt seasoning blend?
The serving size is 1/4 teaspoon.
Mm-hmm.
And it said 0 milligrams of salt.
Okay, so here we have no salt seasoning blend. That's a hint. no salt seasoning blend, okay? And so when you look on that, it does say no sodium. So that may be one that's pretty decent to purchase, but we'll get into that later. And is it Badai vinegar sea salt?
I have that one.
Okay.
The serving size is a fourth of a teaspoon, and it's 85 milligrams.
All right, so for a fourth of a teaspoon, you get 85 milligrams. Not bad, right? Kinder's seasoning grilled chicken. All right? 125 milligrams. Remember salt, 590, and whatever Himalayan was, 4 something, right? What about Morton light salt?
I have that one. It is a fourth of a teaspoon and
290 milligrams. Now, we're going to get into light because if you look at your blue page, light in sodium is at least what percentage less sodium? At least 50% less, okay? So if it's at least 50% less, could it still be high? Yes. Okay. Guy all-purpose seasoning. What about that one? Guy all-purpose seasoning. G-U-Y all-purpose seasoning. Does anyone have that one? Okay. What you got? 125 milligrams for a fourth of a teaspoon. Very good, thank you. Cosmos Q Wing Dust Lemon Pepper. Sounds good. Okay. 85 milligrams. How's the shopping? You still enjoying shopping in the seasoning aisle? You learning something so far? Okay, okay. What about Chef Paul Magic Seasoning Blend Seafood Magic?
I got that one.
Okay.
Serving size is 1/4 teaspoon, and sodium is 100 milligrams.
100 milligrams. Yes, yes. So see, we had some young eyes over here, and she even had to take a double look, right? So yes, some of these labels are very small. The MVP, anybody have the MVP? I think that's one that's missing. So I told you I did this before, and some of the products kind of, we had to go to the store last night. I was like, I got to replace some things. So the MVP is for a fourth of a teaspoon is 65 milligrams. So you all might need to look for that one, 65 milligrams. Jack Daniel's Honey Barbecue Seasoning. Okay, a fourth of a teaspoon, 80 milligrams. Uh-huh. It's 2,300, 2,300 milligrams per day. That's the recommendation. Yeah. The next one is McCormick's Grill Mate Seasoning Hamburger. Fourth of a teaspoon for 95 milligrams, yes. Kinder's Seasoning Lemon Pepper, sounds good.
Quarter teaspoon per serving and 120 milligrams of sodium in lemon pepper.
Yes, a fourth of a teaspoon, 120 milligrams. All right, then we have McCormick's Perfect Pinch Rotisserie Chicken. I think that's another one that's missing. A fourth of a teaspoon, 110 milligrams. 110 milligrams. So that one sounds pretty good. You all might want to invest in that one. And it must be real good because they were sold out at Kroger. McCormick's Grill Mate Seasoning Montreal Steak. Anybody have that one? Okay. Look at those young eyes, see? Don't let the calories fool you now. Don't be fooled by the calories. Just look at the sodium. Yes, 125 milligrams of sodium. And then lastly, salt-free chicken seasoning blend. Okay, so salt-free, another key word, salt-free, right? Yeah. So now you filled the serving size. Now just glaze at that column. What looks familiar? Are the serving sizes the same? Pretty much, in general, 1/4 of a teaspoon. Okay? So you want to be mindful of the serving sizes of anything that you eat, but especially sodium, right? But all foods, even the previous presenter here, you have to be mindful of your serving size. So then when you get to how much salt in milligrams, you just shared some information from your visit in the grocery store, right? Now, look at your blue sheet. And on your blue sheet, we know that sodium is a nutrient. We know that we all need sodium, but everything must be eaten in moderation. And so how it may react in body A may be different from body B. Okay? So now when we're looking at these nutrient claims, let's go through them right quick. A is salt or sodium free, less than how many milligrams? 5 milligrams of sodium per serving. And you just went through all of the serving sizes, right? What is B? Very low sodium. How many milligrams? 35 milligrams of sodium or less. What about C? Yes, for a low product to be low sodium, 140 milligrams of sodium or less. Now, just keep that in mind. And when you get to D, remember you already told me about D, reduced sodium, at least what percentage? 25%. But it depends on then the what product? The regular product. So if the regular product is very high, then 25% less may still be too high, right? It's sort of like if you're shopping in Walmart or some other vendor say that, hey, this product is on clearance or on sale, and you're like, it's not on sale enough, it needs to come down some more. So it's the same concept. E, light in sodium or lightly salted. 50% less, right? Same concept. And then what about F? What is F? Yeah, but these products may not be salt or sodium free, okay, unless it's stated. Now, before we look at this column for the nutrient claims, I want to ask you something. How many of you have a salt shaker at home on the table? Request salt. Okay, so we got a salt lover in the family over here, and we got a table over here and a table in the back. Okay, he keeps wanting to, put all these fancy descriptions as to why he doesn't have salt. I'm going to have to bring some rock Himalayan salt and some see, that's why I keep having to add to the bag. And what about over here? Anybody have a salt shaker? One person. Okay, so that's generally what happens. I always encourage people not to put a salt shaker on the table. Now, it's your house. I don't live there, right? And the reason why, allow people to inconvenience them, to allow them to have to get up if they're going to go to get it. Now, as you know, some of the foods now, salt-free, sodium-free, and sometimes as you age, your taste buds change. That once love of salt might then turn into love of sugar, which is, as we just went through the diabetes one. But sometimes you really don't need it. And so that's why I say inconvenience yourself by saying, okay, do I have to get up and go to the cabinet to get it? Or is it really okay? Or if you're mixing foods together, it may be enough sodium because of what you mixed. For example, cheese and grits. The cheese has sodium in there. So if you mix it with the grits that you did not add salt to the water when you were cooking, yes. If you have, so I'm from the South and I'm a country girl. So, a country girl, I grew up on a farm. So let's just say if you were having bacon with your grits and you mix them together. Yes, we do have low sodium bacon. What if you mixed the bacon with the grits and the eggs and you're scrambling it all together without salt being in the eggs, without you putting salt in? So remember, that's added sodium that you're putting in the food. So try those little tricks so that you're not intaking more sodium in your diet than you really need. Okay? If you were at the previous workshop, a young lady asked about, I think it was okra and breading the okra. I laughed because just the other day my mom sent me some fresh cut okra. So sometimes when people are saying they have fried okra and they're thinking of the breading, I don't think of breading because that's not how I grew up. I grew up with fresh okra. So sometimes it takes me a little bit to say, but sometimes the breading that you put on, whether it is a whole grain product or not, it can have more sodium in it. So again, you have to pay attention to that. And when it comes to whole grain, you have to read the label for the word whole grain. Don't just automatically assume that it is whole grain because of the color, okay? And the one other point was the starchy foods. Lima beans, corn, baked potato, those things like that. The starchy foods, we tend to use meat to season them. And when you're using meat to season those things, that meat maybe has more sodium because it's been cured. And so that's going to add more salt into the product. Okay, and so you can limit that as well. I can cook collard greens without meat. Is that not right, Miss? So I always, I do a presentation sometimes with with Miss King here in the audience. She has a event annually related to breast cancer, and so sometimes the vegetables that you traditionally eat with meat in them, try them without. She's like, I promise you can do it, okay? I promise you can. And then try some of these lower sodium items on here. So now let's look at, and let's go from the bottom to the top on this page this time. So remember, we're looking at the nutrient claims to fill this row up, okay? So remember you had salt, which was 590 milligrams. So is there a nutrient claim on this sheet to fit salt? No. We know that is very high, right? All right, the next one, which is salt-free chicken seasoning blend. Is it A, B, what is it? Salt-free chicken seasoning blend. It is going to be salt-free, right? So salt or sodium-free, less than 5 milligrams, right? Because it's salt-free. What about McCormick's Grill Mate Seasoning Montreal Steak? Yeah, and it could be D also, because the thing with that is you got to pay attention to what was the original. So that's the hint to that. So I did do the work for you, and it is actually C. The next one is McCormick's Perfect Pinch Rotisserie Chicken. What is that, A, B, or C? Yes, low sodium, because it was 110, right? So that one's good, it's C. Kinder's Seasoning Lemon Pepper. C, yes. So that one too is a good option. McCormick's Grill Mate Seasoning Hamburger. Yes, C. So that's a good option. And by the way, as a disclaimer, none of these companies are providing anything to me. Jack Daniel's Honey Barbecue Seasoning. A, B, or C? C, yes. The MVP, that one is 65 milligrams. C. Chef Paul Magic Seasoning Blend Seafood Magic, 100 milligrams. Yes. Cosmos Q Wing Dust Lemon Pepper, A, B, or C? C, 85 milligrams. Got All-Purpose Seasoning. C, yes. Morin's Light Salt. It's actually high. It's 290 milligrams, so that one is high. No, it's going to be considered one of the ones that's sort of like the salt. So you have to be mindful of that one. And I'm going to...
Why wouldn't it be E since it's like half the regular salt?
let's table that and I'll come back to it, because we're going to talk about the 13% daily value on that one, okay? The other thing with, oh no, this one, okay. The other thing with these is, now we're getting a little bit into the renal, but I want to kind of stay on the salt, but renal salt. This one also has 350 milligrams of potassium. And people who are on dialysis are having kidney problems, we also have to monitor their potassium and phosphorus. So we have to be mindful of that. So I know it's kind of hard sometimes, because it's almost like, well, goodness, I got to watch the sugar, I got to watch the salt, I got to watch this. That is all true. That is all true. So that's why I say find that one seasoning, because as you say, you're not going to put lemon pepper seasoning in your grits or in your oatmeal, right? So sometimes you do have to learn how, as I stated before. You can just put a pinch, if we know what a pinch is, or more importantly, try to learn to eat without it. It's sort of like someone who says, well, you only have X amount of months to live, okay? Is the choice going to be, well, I'm going to eat and enjoy, or if the other option is, but if you truly stop this, stop smoking, stop eating salt, then that can turn into maybe 12 months, 2 years, 3 years. Most people would choose not to eat the salt, not to smoke, right? So start now so that your taste buds start to changing very early. Sometimes we tell people now, you know, growing up, the lemon tree was outside, the pear tree was outside. So pears kind of taste different now. Apple might taste different from how you grew up. Many things may come into play with that. So if you start now with trying to eat differently, season differently, then the likelihood of you decreasing your sodium intake will be very high. Kinder's, I'll come back, I haven't forgotten. Kinder's Seasoning Grilled Chicken, A, B, or C? Yes. Vinegar, sea salt. Badia's vinegar, sea salt. Yes. And then the no seasoning blend, A. And Weber dry smoking rub. Yes, that's another one. That's a 15% daily value. And what about Charlie's steak seasoning? We weren't sure about that one, remember? And then Myron's Boston Rub-a-Dub Rib Rub. It's very high. It's 17% daily value. And then the 3 beer smoking chipotle rub. So remember, it's 150 milligrams. So in order for you to know, say D, you have to know what the original is, right? Yeah. So remember, now if we look at that 290 milligrams, so that 290 milligrams is not going to be A, B, or C. And if you're really trying to reduce your sodium, we really need to stay in the A, B, or C column. Okay? The reduced sodium may be fine, but you have to know what the original is. So that's dependent upon you literally saying, okay, here I'm looking at this. The word on the paper says reduce salt, but I have to go and look at the original and do the math. Most people aren't going to do that in the grocery store.
But the 3 beer smoking chipotle rub, it's not 1/4, it's 1 teaspoon. So if it's 1/4, that's not much.
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. So now I'm going to show you how to cheat a little bit when you're in the grocery store. So if you're looking at your label, there is a percent daily value on your label. You see on the right-hand side of your label, it has total fat, sodium, what the milligrams are, and a percent daily value column. Yes? Okay. Now, this is looking at all foods. When you're looking at what we would call a nutrient that we need to limit, sodium is a nutrient we need to limit, right? Calcium, we're trying to increase that in our diet, right? So when we get into double digits, starting with 10, we need to decrease that to less than the double digits. So that's a way you can cheat and say, okay, the nutrients that may not be so good, like this one that we're talking about today, let's decrease that to less than 10. So I took you through what a serving size is. And although the point was 1/4 of a teaspoon could have been a tablespoon. That's important for you to look at what the milligrams are. And remember, when you're seeing the word reduced, you have to look at the original, which may be challenging. I'm the only one that probably who did do that. Then you look at the nutrient claim. So when you're looking at the percent daily value, that's not for everything now, but for a nutrient that you know that you need to limit, you want to be less than the double digits, so less than 10. So if it were 9, you're okay. Okay, so that's a quick way to make a decision when you're in the grocery store shopping, just on the fly, because you're not going to spend as much time as I'm going to spend in the grocery store looking at labels in order to put them in the bag. Was this helpful? And I hope I answered your question when I said that with using the double digits. So that's how we know that, yes, it's high, because it was 13% on the Morton's light salt. So, Mhm.
And this right here is saying a quarter. I'm times four in my problem at that point.
So what you're saying is, if your recipe calls for a fourth of a teaspoon of,
So the serving size here is a quarter.
mhm,
The recipe says put a 4 teaspoons.
yes.
So I can multiply my problem times four at that point. I'm thinking about that.
So a quick way to look at that. So what he's saying is, even if you doubled this and you're putting it on the whole chicken, and your goal is not to eat the whole chicken. So what he's saying is he's not getting two of these together at one time. That's in essence what you're saying to me, right? Yeah, that's what you're saying. And the reason why I know that's what you're saying is because that's how we like to rationalize our food. So this is how I'm going to explain it to you. Remember that 2,300 milligrams total. However, for certain groups of people, that number is decreased, right? But even if we look at the total, right, that percent daily value would need to add up to be 100 for the entire day. So when you're eating, and we must eat in moderation, you're just explaining to me that 1 or 2, 3 or 4, how many ever, 6 wings that you may have eaten, right? The seasoning, the sauce, and all of that is sodium. So remember, you're eating in moderation. When I'm looking at the sodium intake that you have for the day, it's from the time you woke up until the time you went to bed. That includes things that you drink as well. Because even water, certain waters also may have some sodium, right? Certain drinks also. So it's not just you seasoning with lemon pepper or rock Himalayan salt. It's the salt for the whole day. So therefore, when you try to isolate it like that, it becomes a little bit more challenging, because remember, when you're sitting down, again, it's the whole day. So if you have to have a reduced salt in your diet or decrease your sodium, you're going to decrease the things that you purchase or you buy so that it will all be A, B, or C on the label. And you're going to learn to eat the wings without that seasoning, or you're going to learn to not eat the bacon in the morning, or you're going to learn not to drink the Gatorade, or you're going to learn not to eat the baked potato with the salt on it. And try to just eat it naturally, right? Because we're looking at the total picture. So the total picture, you're going to have to reduce something here and there in order to get the number down. Because right now you're eating more than the 2,300 a day. You're probably eating about 35 to 4,000 milligrams a day. And if you ate lunch here today as a vendor, your sodium intake was extremely high. If you're eating luncheon meat or things of that nature, those food items are very high in sodium. And remember, growing up, that's how sometimes food was cured. It stays on the shelf longer because of that. I hope I answered your question. So remember, it's a total picture. Any other questions? Good question. Thank you, and I'm sorry I hurt your feelings there, sir. He's looking like, no.